You have a Git repo. You already have version control, commit history, a structured codebase. What if that was enough to run an AI agent? Not deploy one. Not configure a cloud service. Just drop in a config file and your repo becomes the agent. That's what Git Agent does. And the people who built it think version control is the missing runtime for AI agents. Section 1. So what does it actually do? Git Agent introduces an open standard, a spec, really, that lets you define an AI agent directly inside your Git repository using a single YAML file. You add a file called agent.yaml to your repo, define what model to use, what triggers activate the agent, and what tools it has access to. Then Git Agent takes over. The agent can respond to pushes. It can react to pull requests. It can run on a schedule. It reads your repo's actual contents, your code, your docs, your commit history, and uses that as context. It's not a chatbot bolted onto the side. The repo is the agent's brain. Here's a concrete example. Say you have a Python library on GitHub. You add agent.yaml, point it at GPT-4 or a local model, and tell it to trigger on every pull request. Now every time someone opens a PR, the agent reviews the diff, checks it against your existing docs, and posts a comment. No extra infrastructure. No webhook server. No Lambda function. The config file is the deployment. What surprised me most is that this isn't tied to any one AI provider. You define the model. You could use OpenAI, Anthropic, a locally hosted Llama model, whatever. The standard is model agnostic. And because it's Git native, you get something nobody talks about enough: agent versioning. You want to roll back the agent's behavior? Git revert. You want to see what changed? Git diff on the config. The full power of version control applies to your AI agent, not just your code. This is being positioned as an open standard, meaning anyone can build a runtime that implements it. Git Agent is the reference implementation, but the spec itself is public. Section 2. But here's the thing, what does it not do? Git Agent is not an autonomous agent framework like AutoGPT or Crew AI. It does not spin up long-running agents that make decisions over hours. It's event-driven. Trigger fires, agent runs, agent stops. If you need a persistent agent that's thinking in the background, this is not that. It also doesn't solve the hard problem of tool security. When you give an agent access to tools, write to files, call APIs, push commits, you're trusting a model with real permissions. Git Agent defines how to declare tools, but the security model around what those tools can actually do? That's still on you. And the standard is young. The ecosystem of runtimes that implement the spec is essentially one team right now. The promise of an open standard is portability. Write one agent.yaml and run it anywhere. But that portability only exists if multiple runtimes adopt the spec. Today, that's a bet on the future. Long-running memory is also limited. The agent gets context from the repo at the time it runs. It doesn't accumulate memory across runs unless you explicitly build that into your tooling. Stateful behavior requires extra work. Finally, and this is worth saying clearly, if your repo is private and you're using a third-party hosted model, your code is leaving your environment. Git Agent itself is open source, but what you pipe through it depends entirely on your model choice. Local models solve this. But it's not automatic. Section 3. What could this realistically become? The most compelling future here is the agent per repo model becoming a default in developer workflows. Right now CI/CD is the thing that lives in your repo and reacts to code changes. Git Agent is proposing that AI agents become that same kind of first-class citizen. Imagine an open-source project where the agent.yaml is committed alongside the README. New contributors interact with an agent that knows the codebase, enforces contribution guidelines, and flags breaking changes, all defined in version control, forkable, auditable, improvable through normal pull requests. For enterprise teams, the spec could become a compliance layer. Every agent your org deploys is a YAML file in a repo. You can audit them, diff them, require code review before agent behavior changes. That's a governance model that doesn't exist anywhere right now. And if DigitalOcean or similar cloud providers build native runners for the Git agent spec, one-click deploy for any agent.yaml, this could genuinely flatten the barrier between writing an agent and running one. The hosted runtime problem becomes solved infrastructure, like how GitHub Actions abstracted away CI servers. The spec could also evolve to support multi-agent patterns. Multiple agent.yaml files in a monorepo, each with different roles, triggered by different events, passing context between them. That's not science fiction, it's a natural extension of what's already defined. Section 4. So why does this exist? What problem does it actually solve? The AI agent space has a deployment problem nobody likes to admit. You can prototype an agent in an afternoon. Deploying it reliably, with versioning, rollback, auditability, environment parity, takes weeks. Every team reinvents the same scaffolding. Git Agent's answer is, developers already have a runtime they trust. They've used it for 20 years. It's called Git. The question is whether you can make that runtime AI native without adding complexity. There's also a philosophical argument here. Current agent frameworks are mostly library level. You write Python or TypeScript, you import a package, you run a process. That means agents live outside version control or as a side product of it. Git Agent argues the opposite: the config should be the source of truth, and the runtime should be invisible. It's the same shift that happened when Kubernetes moved from imperative commands to declarative YAML. You don't tell the system what to do step by step. You declare the desired state and let the runtime figure it out. Whether Git Agent becomes the standard or just a strong idea that influences what comes next, I think this framing is correct. Agents need a home in developer workflows. And Git is already there. If you're building agents and you're tired of the deployment overhead, drop a link to your repo in the comments. Next episode we're looking at a tool that does the opposite, runs AI agents with no config at all. Totally different philosophy, equally interesting trade-offs.